Good afternoon. We're live here on Wednesday afternoon to work on our Beagle some more. I hope you all enjoyed our last session and that you're working on your Beagle or at least getting some tips and hints on how to progress with your own artwork. You can use these same steps to paint anything. So before we get started on working on the rest of this, I want to let you know, get your questions ready. We'll answer questions halfway through, so that will be about 2:15 Eastern Time. And then we'll answer questions at the end. We've made some improvements to the sound, so I hope sound quality is better for you today than it was last time. Thank you for bearing with me with these technical challenges. Also, we are hoping that in June we can open our studio back up and have classes in person here. And the first one we're going to have So let's get started on our Beagle. So here's where we were last time. We've completed the face. I am really thrilled with the way this looks. So we're going to continue on. And next we're going to paint his ears. As always, and all of you who registered and signed up, I sent a reference photo to. Here's my reference photo, so I always want to refer to that as much as possible. And I have my copy of it here next to my painting so I can work from it. So I'm pretty happy with him. So let's move on, and we're going to paint his ears. Actually, it's a her. I should say her ears. So I'm going to take my new pastel, Cocoa Brown, and I'm going to add the Cocoa Brown, the top of the ear, where the hair is lighter color. We've also got, I want to leave room for it, my transfer mark is gone. We've got a shadow here that's black. So I tell you what, I'm going to put that in first. I'm going to use my new pastel 229. Now I also don't want to lose that edge next to the face. So I'm going to take this 235 new pastel and just put a little line here that shows me where the edge of the dog's face is. I'm going to put this in. Then I'm going to go back to my 253 Cocoa Brown. Now as I move further down, I want to add a darker brown with more color. So I'm going to use our 263, which is Indian Red. I will tell you something too about the difference between the pastels I use and why. The new pastel is a harder pastel than the Rembrandt. So I want to put the hard pastels in as the base, which is why I'm using the new pastels. Now I'm switching to the 3 53 cordovan. And then there is some black in this area. There's also some black in this area. I'm loosely putting that in. That looks pretty good. Now I'm going to blend it with my stick. Remember, use the dark end of your stick. You've got the other end that you use for lighter colored fur. So I'm going to blend these colors together. And that pushes it into the tooth. And it's hard to blend pastel on Pastelmat, which is why I use this stump instead of my fingers. So let's add some detail. Now I'm using the black charcoal pencil. I'm going to pull some dark hairs. You know what? I didn't blend this black area. Let me do that. I also get right on the edge of the dog's face, which I didn't do, so I'm going to do that. So I'm using the black charcoal pencil. To add some dark hair. We use the black pastel here, but if I use the pencil, I can get more of the effect of hair. If I want it a little darker, I can use the end of my new pastel and stroke it this way, which also makes the hair a little bit darker. I'm looking at my reference photo. Now, we're going to use some pastel pencil. We're going to use a 615 Carbothello, and we're also going to use the 685. The 615 is a little darker than the 685. This is the 685. Put some brighter hair. This one's a little darker, so as I get down in this area, I want to use the darker color. And I can also use the lighter one, it's a little brighter. I'd also like to know any ideas you guys have for future classes. Please drop me a line. Let me know. I have this really great lion I want to paint with more color. Now let's use a gray pencil. This is 720 Carbothello. It's I think it's cold gray number 1. Now the edge of the ear is lighter. I don't want to use white because it's too bright. So I'm going to use the gray. Now the gray picks up the color underneath, and I can make a few defining hairs. And I like to hold my pencil at kind of a 45-degree angle to the painting, or even more, even flatter. I seem to get a better, cleaner stroke that way. There's a few little gray hairs in here. Those don't show up very much, so I'm going to put a little bit of white and put a little bit over the gray on this edge, and a little over here. And there is a white, a little bit of white fur right on this edge of the ear, so I'm going to put that there. And if I want to blend it better, just use my pencil, push it back and forth. But I'm happy with that. I think that looks like I want it to. Now, let's move on to the right ear. Now the right ear is in shadow, so instead of using the 253, we're going to use the 263. Now before I do that, I want to make sure I have the edge of my dog's ear. Which is right there. And I don't think I drew that right when I started, so I'm going to take a little bit of this black off and fix it. It's better to try to fix it now than after you have pastel on it. So I'm going to redraw that edge, which is here. And so this is going to be the edge of the inside of Sophie's ear. Okay, so starting with the Indian red, which is 263. I'm going to draw this out. Then I'm going to go to the 353, the cordovan. I'm going to go ahead and get this edge of her ear. And then I'm going to the black, 229. I know I said it before, but it bears repeating. You can paint anything with a set of new pastels. I think it's one of the best tools you can have. Works on any surface, at least all I've tried. Has a great range of colors, and it's very affordable, particularly if you catch them on sale. Just gonna kind of scribble that in, and then I'm going to blend it. And then we're going to add some detail. So I can pull some of this dark black up into the brown area. And get it blended really, really good. Now, let's add some pencil to this. This, like I said, it doesn't have as much detail. So let's use the 720 and the 615. There is a little bit of brown hair in here, so I'm going to use the 615 to add a few brown hairs. But mainly, I'm going to outline this area with the 720 Carbothellos. I want that a little browner, so I'm going to take the 263 and just put a little brown color in here. And I want to make this a little darker. Got a little too much gray there, so I'm going to use the 229 over it. I'm going to take the gray, 720, add a few hairs. Very lightly. I'm not pushing very hard. I'm just very lightly blend that a little bit with my finger. A few more here. And then it's very dark. A shadow right here. Put that in. Also going to redraw. We'll be touching this up after we add the back, but I'm going to put that like that. And a few I think that looks really nice. Now we have Sophie's ears in. Correct my drawing a little bit. Don't be afraid to do that. If it doesn't look right to you, correct your picture. Now we're going to add her back. Now we're going to do that with the 105 white. And we're going to use this because it's softer and it can fill the tooth better. Now, it's very important, and I think I have it drawn in. In case I don't, I'm going to put it in. Here's the spot on her back, which is white. And so if you can't see your lines, re-establish them. So we're going to do, and carefully, as careful as I can, follow the outline. And the reason I'm using this is because it's a softer, it's a Rembrandt, so it's softer than a new pastel. It puts more pigment on the paper faster, and it's going to fill the tooth in. And that's what we want. I'm using the edge to get close to Sophie. Here's the edge of her white spot. And then I want to put in this white spot. Here again, I'm just using the edge of the pastel so I can get it in there precisely. Now we're going to blend these, and I'm going to use the clean end of my blending stick. And I'm going in the direction that the hair grows. Now, if I didn't get enough pastel, I can go back and add some more, and I think I will. And then we'll blend this little spot. Okay, now we want to straighten up this edge. So this is the 253, and I'm just going to make little tiny marks there to clean that edge up, and I'm going to use the charcoal pencil. If you don't have a charcoal pencil, you could also use a Carbothello 750, which is a black. And then let's straighten up this edge. I use the 263 of Sophie's, top of Sophie's head. Now this area actually blends with this one, and you can't see the difference too much. The tonal values are the same, so I'm going to come across this with the white. And blend that together. Now we're going to put the black in across her back, and for that we're going to use the Rembrandt 700.5 black. Carefully, carefully. I'm going to put this in. And here again, this is more highly pigmented than the new pastel one. carefully shape around the ear. Now, because the dog's back is in shadow, we won't have to put any detail in there. Now I want to go around this spot that she has carefully. Using the edge. And draw down the side of her back. Now you want to keep in mind that you focus your viewer's eye with detail. That's one of the ways you do it. So we don't want these things in the back to be as important as the things in the front. Now we're going to blend the black with the black into the stick, and then we'll put these edges together. I'm just going to kind of zig in there. I'll go over that with my fingers so it gets kind of sort of gray. Now, I want to add a little detail to this, so I'm going to use this gray pencil, the 720, and add just a little bit of shadow. And I want to use my white charcoal pencil. I want to pull a few hairs. Out across her back. Now her ear, I'm going to use my 615. This isn't light enough, so I'm going to switch to the 685. And pull that out for her ear. And I also want to make this a little bit darker. Yeah, she's looking pretty good. I'm going to go ahead and smudge this a little more. It lets you know it's a white spot, but it's further into the background. Now, we're going to blend this area. We don't want this harsh line. So what we're going to do is take the dark brown, which is the 411-3, and we're going to put that underneath the dog. We're going to take this black. We're going to blend that over it a little bit. Because the effect we want is that the dog is in shadow. So we're going to blend these two colors together. Now I'm going to take my black new pastel, because I can get in here a little bit better, and blend right there on the side of her nose. And then I'm going to take the 411-5, put a highlight across that, and then back to my 411-3. Going to use my blending stick for that. Now you can see the dog just melts into the background, which is what we want. We want it to look like she is a part of the background. And we want to highlight, I want to highlight this area. This is a new color. This is 231.5. This is gold ochre. And I want to put a tad of it right there. And then I want to blend it. It's a little brighter than I want, so I'm going to go over it with my .411.5. Now on the other side, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to avoid the paws. We're going to come back and do those. I'm going to draw a black line right where Sophie's ear is. Then around her paw, I'm going to use my 411.3. Pull that out. I'm going to use it over here. use black. This is a shadow under her paw, and then we're going to come back and detail her paws. Then I'll take the 411.5 with a highlight. I'm going to blend that together. You want to keep these lines straight and parallel to each other. Make sure they don't go sloping off. And then to highlight that, I'm going to take this 231 and just blend this out because it's going to blend, it's going to fade into the darkness. Put a little more red, about right there. Okay, let's take a little break and see if there are any questions. I'm going to switch my screen so I can see. Thank you all for tuning in. Kathy, Paula, Faye, hi Faye, Judy, from snowy Utah. It's still snowing. I'm glad to know the sound is good. Hi Marianne. Thank you for joining us. Kathy wants to see a lion. Good to know. Black Labrador. Okay, Trevor. Thank you for bringing that back up again. I do remember you asking that. I will write it down. I forget stuff. A black lab is a great idea. I love painting black animals. They have so much color. Hi, Olivia. Thank you for joining us from Scotland, Trevor. That is just great. Still cold there. Does anyone have any questions? How to clean the stump? Good question, Olivia. Well, I tell you, it's almost impossible. Here's one thing I do. Here is my trusty sanding block that my wonderful husband made for me. You can take your stump and you can sand it down, and that helps some, but it really doesn't. So I tell you what I do. I buy lots of them off of Amazon or from Dick Blick. I get them in packages like this in different sizes from Amazon. They're not very expensive, and then you can throw them away. The bigger ones I don't like as much. I like the medium size one. So I'll buy a lot of these from Dick Blick. And then when they get too bad to use, I just get rid of them. If anybody else has another idea, I'd love to hear it. I see. You know what, Roseanne? I forgot to put my glove on. You're right. It's a good idea to wear a glove. If you, and I'll tell you, particularly if you're going to paint on sandpaper, because if you don't, you will absolutely lose the skin off your fingertips, which I have done. So it is a good idea to wear a glove. I always buy the small latex gloves because they fit my hand the best. And I just forgot to put it on. So I hope that answers your question. It is a good idea. Okay, well, let's get back to painting. I am going to, let's see, you can still see the dog's paw. I will zoom out when I think we're going to finish up today. So let's start with the paw in the back. I'm going to use my charcoal pencil. I'm going to use pink because the dog's nails are pink. And let's see how this goes. I'm gonna, this is my white charcoal pencil. I've lost my, actually my line drawing. So here are, and when you're painting, I tell you this, look for the values in your painting. So there's the edge of the pad. And here's the edge of the fur that's over the nail. And also here. And there's the pad on that back one. So let's take the pink. I'm going to color the nail in pink. And we'll add some highlights to it. I have a little tiny blender. I'm going to take, let's see if this is dark enough. This is 642 Carbothello pencil. I'm going to draw in the shadow. I like that on the nail. Use my charcoal pencil. I was thinking about what Trevor asked, and I don't think I have ever painted a black lab. Color in a little dark on the pad. Now, we're going to add some white new pastel. for the fur on the dog's paw. There is a little dark area in here I didn't get, so I'm going to put that in. And I'm going to blend that with the clean end of my stump. I do like the fact these stumps come in a lot of different sizes. And so I'm going to blend that white in. And it's blending with the charcoal pencil I put down for shadow areas, which is pretty good. Okay. Now we got to put some more lights and some more shadows in. This isn't on the color list, but this is a 726 dark gray pastel pencil. It's a good color to have. Well, Carbothellos are just a really good brand of pastel pencil. They're all purpose. Okay. Then let's make it brighter white with the white charcoal pencil. Let's put in a few little hairs. And with the light gray 720, let's highlight the pads of the dog's foot. This is a 681. It has a little pinky tone to it. The pad is a little bit pink, so I'm going to use that. I'm also going to, there's a shadow up under here, so I'm going to shape this up a little better. And then I can use this 681 to make a highlight on the nails. Now let's move to the front paw, and we're going to do the same thing. So I'm looking at my reference. Let's draw in where these pads are. So here's one. Here is another. I'm going to use my black new pastel. To get in there. And as you can see, it's much darker than the charcoal pencil. And we want a shadow under this and under the dog's chin. like so. And I'm going to take my little blender. This is really good for getting in tight places. I'm going to blend that black out a bit. Now taking my gray pencil, go underneath this nail. Her first nail on this side is black on the top. And it's black in there a little bit. Take my pink. Some pink in there. And there is a bit of pink on this one. It's curled around. And we're going to blend that. I'm going to take my white charcoal pencil. Outline these nails. Now, this gets a little tricky, so we're going to go part by part. This is the dog. The dog's got her chin laying on her paw, okay? So there's a little dark area there. And then it's white. When you're painting, paint what you see, not what you think you see. Your brain may tell you something else, but always paint what your eyes see. This is also, let me shape that up better. Now let's put some brown in here. I'm going to use the 253. So we need a base to draw lighter hairs into. There is darker brown right here. So I'm going to use 353 right in that area and around in this one. And I'm going to blend those together. And I'm going to blend this color all the way up to that nail. It's pretty good. Now before I finish the paw, I'm going to finish the pads. I see a shape I need to correct right here. So I'm going to do that. There's a little black here. So this area of the pad is really black. The outside edge is white. So I'm going to take my white new pastel. I always keep one sharpened like this so I can use the point for putting dots in eyes and for a little hard to reach places like this. I'll draw that down there. And again, I'm going to blend that. Now for the highlight, on this first pad, I'm going to use the light gray 720. and I'm going to blend it. For the second pad, I'm going to use, I'll start with 720. That has a little pink in it, so I'm going to use the 681. And then this is 642. Kaput Mortem Violet, love this color. This is going to need shadow too on this nail. And then take my blender. I'm going over that fairly lightly. And then there is a bright, much brighter light on the edge, so I'm going to draw that in. Now on the last pad, to me, it appears more pink. And then some Kaput Mortem Violet. And blend that. It's hard to get in these tiny little places. Now let's straighten up these nails. I'm going to take this dark gray. Put some white for the highlight. And a little more dark. And then we'll finish it by adding the light hair. Finish the paw by using I'm going to use the 105 Ivory, and I'm going to add the hair. Switch to the white. And as best you can, keep your hair in the direction that it's growing. My pencil's gotten dull. Now I'm going to sharpen it up here. Pull out these little hair that are between her toes. Looks pretty good. Now I don't like this edge too much, so I'm going to take my new pastel and kind of change that. Also think this needs to be a little brighter white here. So I'm just going to add a little bit of white pencil in there. And I don't care for this line, so I'm going to reshape the nail based on that. And I think she looks pretty good. Does anyone have any questions on that? Okay, Roseanne wants to know how long the video will be available. I don't have any intention of taking it down, so I'm going to leave it up for a while. Now, looking at this, to me, the back paw doesn't look shaded enough. But before I adjust it, we're going to finish the background, okay? I'm going to zoom out just a little bit. Oops, I never can remember which way to do it. So let's go back just a little bit like that, so you can see my whole table just about. Now the next thing we're going to do is add some color down here to the bottom. And I'm going to do that with the 411 Rembrandt, 411.3 and 411.5. Now, if you've watched me teach before, you know that these colors have, when it says 0.5, which this is a 0.5, this is burnt sienna, 0.5 on a Rembrandt means this is the true hue. When they add black to it, it goes to 0.3 and lower. I don't think it goes any lower than 0.3, but when you add white to it, it becomes a tint, and the number will go up, like 411.8, which will be a pale, almost flesh color. So I'm going to put some 411.5.3, excuse me, down as our base color. I'm not going to go down very far. Now I want to blend the black shadow into this. And then we're going to add the red over top, or by that I mean the 411.5. And we're going to blend that. I also, I usually get the question, but I haven't this time, is about fixative. I don't use fixative. I do not know any, I personally do not know any professional artists that use it. It dulls the color. Now we're going to add accent with the 231.5. This will draw attention right under here to Sophie's face because it's a lighter color and she's coming into the foreground. And I'm going to blend that in. Now I want to have a little more color with that, so I'm going to blend it down and take it down further. More red in that. And some dark brown. And then I'm going to blend it. I'm pushing fairly hard because that pushes the color into the and a little more, a little bit lighter color right there for the brightest highlight. Love it. Now we're going to finish the background and then we're going to tie it all together, any finishing details, and decide if we need to do something else with that paw after we've added the background. Now we're doing this last so that we don't get black all over our dog, okay? I'm going to turn my painting upside down, like so. And I'm going to carefully add this black background. I'm also going to turn my reference photo upside down so I can follow the shapes. And then I'll lay the black on its flat edge. I have there are a lot of, there's a playlist of how I use pastel and how I sharpen them and all of that kind of thing on YouTube. So you can just look under playlists for techniques with pastel. Now I'm going to go all the way out because I want a real dramatic painting. And then what I do is I get one of those plein air frames from Jerry's or Dick Blick, a 9x12. This will fit perfectly in that. The pastel mat holds onto the pastel fairly well, so it's pretty much dustless, just like velour is. Now I'm not applying this really very heavy because I'm going to blend it. So I'm carefully going around the edges of the dog, using the edge to kind of go in the fur so that I can create that fluffy edge. Now you can see that the shape of that little white spot is what tells our, when we look at it, tells our mind that that is the curve of the dog's back. Okay, so let's blend that in carefully. Let's see, let's start over here. Now I'm blending this parallel to actually the plane that the dog is sitting on. Now I'm going to turn it so I can carefully go around the dog. Now I'm going to kind of drag this in. We're going to pull out that hair with a pencil. I'm going to really push it in up here, but I don't want to drag a lot of black. Well, in fact, I don't want to get any black into that fur. I want to keep it clean. I'm going to go back and forth to make sure it really gets pushed in and becomes a solid color. Now I'm going to go carefully around the ear, around the paw. There. Let me get this back in the picture frame. It looks pretty good. Now we want to, what I want to do is create a vignette. So I'm going to add black down the bottom, but so that my hand doesn't get in it. Let's finish the details first. I have decided I need a little more black down here, and I'm also going to reshape this a little bit. Now at the top, take my white pencil and pull out some fur. Be sure and be careful to get it going in the same direction the fur is growing. Okay? So just pull out a few here. That blends this into the background. And let's get her ears also blended. I'm going to take as soon as I spot it, there we go. This is the 685. I'll sharpen it up a bit on my sanding block. Pull out. This just helps to integrate the dog with your background. And the same over here. Now, the other thing I see that we haven't done is whiskers. She has a few whiskers. Now I don't like that whisker, so I'm going to show you how to fix it. So I would take my black pencil and go over it until it pretty much disappears. In fact, I'm going to take this dirty stump and erase it. And then I can put it back in like that. And if I pull lighter, don't press so hard, I get a better whisker. Okay. Now, oh, she's got a couple up here as well. And there's a black whisker. Right here. Put those in. Now I'm going to take my black Rembrandt. Let me pull my tape off the bottom of my painting. This is old tape and it may have left glue on this edge. Now when it's pastel matte, you can get a nice mat for it to put in your frame. With velour, we frame it on the glass, but with pastel matte, you don't have to do that. Let's put in some black. Let's see, you can't see me. Let me move this up. Okay. Whoops. Again, I'll take my trusty old stump. And I'm going to blend this edge up, and then I'll show you how to blend the two together. Then we'll answer some questions. So if you have questions, go ahead and type them in. Then I'm going to take my 411.3 I've got quite a bit of pastel down now, so I don't have to push as hard. Now you can add more of the lighter color and accent the dog's face. Do not use the black end of the stump if you're going to do that. And see, that focuses your viewer's eye right on the dog. I think she's about done. Now let's see if you guys have any questions. Okay, Ben asked, what size is the painting? The painting is 9 by 12 inches on Pastelmat. I love the drama. Oh, hello from Iceland, Ben. That's wonderful. Thank you for joining us. And welcome, Sue. I'm glad you've made it. I like dramatic paintings. I'm going to, let's see. Now you can see the whole painting. You can see my table. Let me show you how I sign my name while you're adding questions if you have any. I have a fine point Sharpie that I use. You can also use a Pigma Micron archival marker. And I just write right over it, like so. There we go. And it's ready for the frame. I'm really pleased with that. I'll probably look at it again. It's always good to get a fresh look after you've let it rest for a while. Wait a day. I usually wait a day and then come back and see if I like it, if I need to change anything. Now I want to remind you that my next we have a few minutes left if you have any questions. Please type them in the box. I'll be happy to answer any questions that you have. Thank you, Roseanne. I appreciate that comment. Roseanne says, thank you so much for doing this. It's such a pleasure to watch and paint with you. I really enjoy teaching, and I have missed it very much during this worldwide crisis. I really hope and pray that the world gets back to normal. I don't know if it ever will, but that's what I'm hoping for. We have 2 more minutes in our time together, and we accomplished a lot, which goes to show you that you can paint. You can take an afternoon and really complete an entire project. I think I'm going to add a little brighter area there. If you're not on my mailing list, please get on my mailing list, and then you'll find out what I'm up to. I appreciate you guys joining me from around the world. Thank you, Marianne, for painting with me. And thank you, Faye. And I know somewhere out there is Pat. Thank you for joining me, Pat. And thank you, Kathy. Thanks to everyone for tuning in. If I haven't answered all your questions, just send me an email. I'd be happy to. And send me a picture of what you do if you paint this project. I'd love to see it. And so until next time, keep painting, have fun, and bye-bye.